Hey YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to talk about what happened between Amara La Negra and the host of The Breakfast Club. And before I get into this video, because I know this is probably going to come up, so I'm going to just address this right now before I get any further in this video. Yes, I did post a video about Amara La Negra feeling, basically expressing my suspicion of her, right? Yes, I did post that video. It's still up. If you want to see it, go check it out. And I still stand by that video, all right? However, I can simultaneously question Amara La Negra while defending her, especially against colorism. All right. So while I am still suspicious of Amara La Negra, I still can and will defend her when it comes to colorism until I see fit. Right? And that's just what it is. All right. And partially it's because this is not only about Amara La Negra, but about dark-skinned black women in general. All right. So we have, we got to talk about some things. All right. All right. So let's just get into this at this point. All right. So as you guys know, Amara went on The Breakfast Club. Seemingly, standard Breakfast Club stuff and whatnot. But during the interview, it kind of went to the topic of colorism. And it's, it seemed like, Charlemagne and DJ Envy was kind of like leading the conversation and leading the charge, like pretty much colorism isn't like an issue, kind of hint, hint, nudge, nudge, with like these like questions, low-key trolling questions, right? Like she was like getting trolled on The Breakfast Club, which I know people are like, well, duh, but you shouldn't expect it for a topic like this. Not like this, right? Not a topic that affects like a big, really, honestly, I think colorism affects the entire community, just in different ways. But I think we're all affected by colorism in some sort of a way. But pretty much basically in this interview, it kind of like revolved around them, well, at least in this particular part, right? The colorism part, right? It kind of like The Breakfast Club morphed into Fox News, kind of like, and it seemed like we were talking about racism, and it was kind of like pretty much them saying, prove it, honestly. Just like, oh, prove it. You know how sometimes when you're talking about, when you talk about racism with like many white people, that kind of gets to the point where it's like, prove it, and we kind of go around in a circle. And like me personally, I've kind of just been like, I ain't doing that no more. Been there, done that. I ain't doing it. All right. But in this situation, Amara, they were talking about colorism, and she was like just trying to tell them about, the things that she's went through, and she gave them like a pretty good example of it too, that didn't involve like the black community. So like no one in the black community was like called, put on blast, called out, whatever, right? It was about her going to audition for a part in like a soap opera, well, a telenovela. And basically saying the only parts that they got for her are like prostitutes and slaves. Like slave parts and prostitute parts for her. Right? That's the only thing that they really got for her. And by the way, I have watched telenovelas, I have At this point, I don't really watch much TV, but when I did, you know, look at Univision and Telemundo, and yes, you don't really see much color. Like honestly, if you see a mestizo, you're doing pretty good, honestly. You know, mestizo being like a mixture between white and indigenous folk of America. You know, a la Selma Hayek, maybe. Um, but yeah, like I remember seeing a black man on a telenovela like one time, I think. He was like in this interracial relationship with like this white lady, I think, and he had dreads. But yeah, you don't really see it that much. And I know there's like that one news anchor on Univision, Ilia Calderon. You know, that one Afro-Latina news anchor on Univision. I do know about her. And she has received a promotion. In fact, she's going to be the first Afro-Latina in primetime news, like primetime news television. And she's going to be working with Jorge Ramos. And you probably maybe not familiar with these names, but Jorge Ramos is a big deal as far as like journalism in like the Latin American community. It's like a big deal. So like she did receive like pretty much an upgrade. So she's going to be co-hosting, I believe, with Jorge Ramos. So, you know, congratulations to Ilia Calderon. All right. But back to Amara La Negra, all right? And how you don't really see that many people of color, you know, especially black folks. I know, like, I was like in Spanish class one time in like Spanish 3 back in high school, and like me and this other girl who was black also, like we saw we were reading the Spanish book for the class, and we like were looking through it, and we saw like a black girl in it. Like, what the oh really? It was kind of like a surprise because you don't really see it, right? Like also like recently like I just found out some information about like the Panama Canal, like in like a private Spanish class that I took recently. And like them using you know, people, you know, primarily black men from the West Indies, especially Jamaica, to construct the canal, and many of them died while constructing the canal. You don't hear that story though. It's like I don't like, yeah. And also in Panama, they actually have a day called, I think, the Black Ethnicity Day, where it's like a celebration of like the African contribution and heritage that Panama has too. All right. But back to topic though. Well, back to Amara La Negra in the Breakfast Club. All right. So I think it got to a point where DJ Envy, it seemed like he was really trying to stir up some mess. But a little before that, Charlemagne brought up Cardi B, right? As if Cardi B and Amara La Negra are equivalent to each other, right? When they're not. They're not equivalent to each other. There is a difference between Cardi B and Amara La Negra, right? And Amara La Negra never trashed Cardi B in the interview. She never talked bad about her. She said positive things about her. She didn't say anything negative about her, right? And then DJ Envy gives like the biggest troll question of this interview, which is, do you think Cardi B popped, you know, became successful because she's light-skinned, right? And I know the YouTube user Lovely T 2002, she did a video about this, and she said that in the video she said like, oh, I wish Amara La Negra would have just said what, you know, what the F it was, like what what everyone else was thinking. And I kind of was like that too initially. But upon learning a little bit more, I kind of just felt like she was being set up. And if she did answer honestly, how many people would want her to answer, she would be public enemy number one. She would be considered the angry, jealous, bitter, dark-skinned girl. And Amara, she didn't want to go down that road. And I can understand her not wanting to go down that road. I think at this point, I think Angela Yee should have been the one to step up and say, I think that's part of the reason. Because honestly, I don't think that's the entire reason, but I do think that plays a part in it, though. Let's be real, that plays a part in it. Just like how these white folks be saying, like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have white privilege. I've been through this, right? And that's like, yeah, that's true. But despite those things, you still have privilege, right? Honestly, your privilege probably helped you navigate through this, that, and the other, right? But yeah, it was really like, I can understand, like, I saw like a lot of frustrated comments from a lot of frustrated black women, especially dark-skinned black women, and I can definitely understand where the frustration came from. Like, I was frustrated for Amara La Negra and dark-skinned women, and like, and it ain't even about me, and I'm frustrated. I'm like, it's just ultimately it was just really dismissive, honestly, because it's like, y'all bring up this topic, but then when she's telling you about what she goes through, then it becomes very like, oh, but what about this? Oh, what about this? What about that? What about this, that, and the third? Right? Very dismissive. And if you really want to learn about someone, you're usually not dismissive, right? Like if, oh, you had some sort of an illness, right? And I'm asking you about this illness, and like, oh, what's the struggle like? Like, say if someone had like cancer, and you ask them, ask them about their struggle with cancer, right? And they tell you about their struggle with cancer. But you're like, no, I don't really think so. It's like, how can you really tell them that? You don't have cancer. How can you say that? Right? All right. So after the interview hit the internet, folks was mad, rightfully so. And folks was coming for Charlemagne, rightfully so. I wonder where they're coming for DJ Envy, though. I don't know. Because usually I hear Charlemagne's name coming up a lot. Not so much DJ Envy's name, though. Because DJ Envy was kind of like, instigating shit, too. He was a part of it. Right? But maybe it's because, like, Charlemagne is, like, brown skinned, so maybe, like, they expect him to get it, right? While DJ Envy is, like, light skinned, so perhaps he wouldn't get, even though he should get it, too. He should. He don't get a slide. You don't get a pass, right? And, I will give a little kudos to Angela Yee. She could have did more, honestly. She did something. I'll give her that. She did kind of have Amara La Negra's back, at least somewhat. But she could have did a little bit more, especially when it got to that question about, do you think Cardi B popped off because she's light-skinned? At that point, I think Angela Yee probably should have just said, I do. I think it is. I think that's part of the reason. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Right? Amara La Negra, at that point, was definitely alone on her own. All right? In my personal feelings about Cardi B, while I don't really have anything against her, let's be real. I'm going to say what Amara La Negra couldn't say, what she was not able to say without being attacked. I'll say it for her. All right. Y'all just attack me. Cardi B is a glorified slut. All right. Let's be real. She is. She's the biggest slut in New York City. All right. Been the biggest slut in New York City for a while. Like, she sucked. She fucked. She tricked. She stripped. She had threesomes to get where she is today. She sucked and fucked for beats, from what I heard too. And, that's not really, again, I don't really have anything against her. I'm not really trying to come for her. I'm just trying to state facts at this point. Facts that I believe she admits to. So, her being light-skinned plus sucking and fucking and tricking and stripping and doing whatever else she did, right? That did help. Let's be real, that helped, right? But if Amara La Negra said that, she would be attacked because she couldn't say that, Because if she did say that, then it's like, oh, she's a hater. Oh, you're hating on Cardi B's success, Like, no, I'm just... That's how they would spin it when it hits the internet and the media. That's how they would spin it. And also, Cardi B, she got her body from, like, the Build a Thought workshop. Like, I don't even think that she knows what the doctors put in her butt to make it bigger. I think somewhere said, like, I don't even know what they put in there. All right. And plus, the breast job, too. But, like, if Amara La Negra did all that stuff, that would kind of just be like, oh, this is why we don't like you, right? This is why we don't fuck with you, because you're a hoe, you're a slut, right? Even though Cardi B could do it, but it's like they kind of just wanted a reason not to really support Amara and to be down for her, and that's the reason that they would use. Because they didn't really want to do it anyway, but that's just a valid reason to not do it. All right. So after the Breakfast Club interview as well, a Afro-Latino actor by the name of Las Alonso, I think that's how you say his name, he wound up pretty much trying to, educate Charlemagne publicly and privately in, like, direct messages. All right. Then all of a sudden, Charlemagne's like, oh, I get it now. Right? He gets it. Because this Afro-Latino explained to him, even though this Afro-Latina was explaining the same thing to him on the Breakfast Club. Pretty much the same thing. But he gets it now. Even though I think low-key Charlemagne's just trying to do damage control by saying, oh, I get it now. Yeah, so folks will stop coming at him. And as well, so, shout out to Las Alonso for having Amara La Negra's back. As well, Ebro from Hot 97. Even though I do give Ebro the side eye on some things, and will probably continue to do so in this particular situation, I will give him kudos. All right, he did speak on this on his show, or on the show that they have on Hot 97, right? And he did bring up something very interesting when he spoke, and I was like, I never really thought about that. He wound up bringing up, like, saying like, he either asked the question or either made it as a statement, but saying, like, do you think if Charlemagne was light-skinned, do you think he would have more mainstream success? And he personally said that he would have more mainstream success. Like, Charlemagne would have more mainstream success if he was lighter skinned. Yeah, like, I never really thought about that. Would he? Because, I'll be real, I have laughed at a lot of what Charlemagne has said. Charlemagne does make the Breakfast Club interviews a lot more interesting and funny. I will admit that. Although I haven't watched in a while, but the ones that I've watched a while ago, yeah, I thought those were pretty funny, right? And people do be like, when in the comment section, like Charlemagne ain't in the interview, they ain't watching. And I'd be like that too sometimes. I'm like, I don't know. Like, you know. But yeah, that's an interesting question, you know. And as well, I think we can also throw in this, a bit left field, but I'll put this out. Do you think that perhaps they may have given The Rock his own spin-off of Fast and the Furious, you know, maybe because they felt like he may have more of an appeal versus, like, more of a crossover appeal versus Tyrese? Because I think low-key that might be part of why Tyrese was kind of like in his feelings, low-key, when it came to like The Rock and Fast and the Furious cast. Low-key, you know, I think that may have been part of it because The Rock got a spinoff. But another story for another day. But yeah, it's like just really just disappointing and frustrating, right? And I can understand, definitely understand black women feeling frustrated because I know the black women are like, you know, they feeling like you're supposed to protect them, but they're not getting that protection that they want and they need from, or at least they're not feeling it. Of course, it's not all black men, but you know, when it gets to these situations like this, then these types of things start coming up. And people be accusing Charlemagne of bleaching his skin. I don't know. I just thought that was like some sort of a like joke because he was doing like some kind of like dermatology treatment or something. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know how Charlemagne seemed to have been so ignorant on colorism, but very knowledgeable about racism, right? Very knowledgeable about racism, right? Y'all saw that conversation he had with Tommy Loren. He was very knowledgeable about racism, but colorism, nah. Hey, what? What's that? Like what? Yeah. But something I just thought of though, low key though, Charlemagne has made jokes about police, not joke, but jokes about police brutality, or not necessarily. Let me rephrase that. He has made a joke or a few jokes like something to the extent of like, oh, you know, this is why the police are always shooting, or like, you know, shooting down dark-skinned black men, you know, because they stereotype us as being aggressive. He was saying that kind of like in a joking way. I can't remember the context though. But so I'm like, okay, you kind of, I mean, it's a joke, but you know, we know it got some truth in it though, right? So I think he knows, but I don't know. He knows, but he don't want to say he knows, right? He don't want to admit to it, right? And also, like, sometimes I think when Chris Brown is on the show, he had said, like, you know, he likes Chris Brown because Chris Brown has dark skin tendencies, right? So he knows, like, there are stereotypes ascribed to us because of skin tone. He knows that. Like, come on. He knows that. All right? And I know we can kind of, like, joke and, you know, have fun with it. But sometimes it gets serious, though. You know? And as well, I think DJ Envy. I mean, I think he kind of suffering. He may be suffering some colorism himself, honestly. And let me tell you exactly why I think that. Because I saw a picture of him and his family, and I believe his wife is like multiracial, I think. And if you look at DJ Envy, while DJ Envy is light skinned, he ain't light skinned like say, Christopher Williams. He's not light-skinned like, say, I'll Be Sure. He's not light-skinned like, say, even Chris Brown. And where I'm getting at is, it's like, it's kind of like, he's light-skinned, but ain't no chicks fantasizing about him like they do I'll Be Sure, Christopher Williams, and Chris Brown. That's where I'm getting at. All right. And I think sometimes, very low-key, some light-skinned people kind of may feel like they were perhaps, particularly maybe some light-skinned men, maybe feel like perhaps they weren't, like they don't fit into the stereotype of what people think light-skinned people are, if you know what I mean. For example, like, you know, stereotype is having good hair, right? As well, the eye color, too. Me personally, I have kind of felt sort of a little similar thing when it came to the eye color. Being honest, I kind of felt like I should probably have had a quote-unquote exotic eye color, preferably green, to be honest. I have kind of thought that a little bit in, like, that has kind of like popped into my mind a few times in my life, you know. But that's not a thought that I like to entertain. I don't think that's a healthy thought to entertain, personally. But I think that kind of speaks, and as well, I've heard stories about, you know, maybe some folks feeling like they should have had good hair, right? And being light-skinned and they don't have good hair, but they should have had good hair, right? So where I'm getting at is sometimes they may kind of like, in who they choose to like marry and have children with and all that, they're taking that into consideration. So it's like, oh, this light-skinned person who's like multiracial will help me kind of like fulfill that want, like fulfill what I didn't have, but fulfill it within my kids, perhaps. Yeah. But I'll bring this video to a close. I'm going on for a while. My bad, y'all. But I'm going to still continue. I ain't done with this topic yet. I still got some things to say. All right. But I'm just going to bring this video to a close for the time being. And see you in the next video. Feel free to comment, definitely. Let me know what you think about the situation. But see you in the next video, because I do have a lot more things to say, particularly about Cardi B's sister. I got a lot to say about that. So stay tuned. Until then, adios and goodbye for now. You know. But one more thing I will say about that whole like light skin thing and feeling like you should have had different features, and I will say I'll probably add hair texture to that list too, honestly. While it took me a while to kind of like really kind of like embrace the hair texture that I have, because the thing is, like, within my family there are like folks with, you know, quote unquote good hair. Like my dad's one of those folks who have like quote unquote good hair too. But thankfully, I'm at a point now where I think that my hair is quote-unquote good hair. Well, I don't think I should do this quote-unquote with that, but you know what I mean. Like, I did a whole video about this, by the way, too. Kind of like going on somewhat of a hair journey and learning to come to embrace, like, the hair texture that I have. But yeah. And also, I'll put it like this. Colorism kind of affects, I heard it like, when it comes to colorism, it's kind of like, it kind of tends to attack dark-skinned people's self-esteem, while it tends to attack lighter-skinned people's like identity or sense of identity. And I think that's a part of it. But until the next video, you guys, adios and goodbye for now.